Have you ever looked back on your day and asked yourself, did I leave a mark? Sometimes we find ourselves trapped in a familiar routine, letting our potential fade away with each passing calendar page. It's so easy to sink into the soft sofa of comfort, while once vibrant dreams quietly wither. But imagine the miracles that could happen if each morning you pushed yourself to break through, challenge your limits, and move closer to the brightest version of yourself. In this video, we'll explore how to stop wasting potential and finally become the person you've always longed to be. This isn't a fantasy tale, but a very real journey wrapped in 13 priceless lessons left behind by Stoic sages. If applied consistently each day, those teachings can completely transform your life, from building sustainable habits, learning to live with discomfort, to no longer comparing yourself to others. In your hands lies the key to improving yourself day by day, gently but surely. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. What you truly need is the courage to force yourself to act. Break through the tiny mental barriers and live true to your personal values. But are you ready to open the door and step into that journey? Before answering, meet Laura, the one who will guide us today. Laura never had a rose-paved life. Since childhood, she constantly heard judgments. She was not smart enough, not as talented as her brother, not as outgoing as her friends. Over time, those labels stuck to her like an old worn-out coat. In class, Laura often sat quietly in the back, never once raising her hand because she believed trying wouldn't help anyway. At work, she completed tasks properly but never shined, because the fear of failure kept her stuck at the starting line. Day after day, Laura functioned like a machine, believing she was born to be average, and yet, deep in her heart, a faint voice whispered, "I want more than this." One afternoon, Laura sat in deep thought on a wooden park bench, sipping hot coffee while watching the stream of people pass by. Suddenly, a jogging group raced past her. "I wish I could run like them," she whispered. Her eyes then paused on a man with silver hair, probably over 60, using a prosthetic leg. Incredibly, he ran faster than anyone else in the group, with confident strides and a face full of calm resilience. The scene looked like a moving photograph, where human willpower shone brightly in the twilight. Laura couldn't help herself and hurried after him. "How can you run like that? Where do you get that strength from?" she asked, part curious, part in awe. The man didn't stop, just turned and smiled. "It's all in the mind," he said, voice calm but resonant. "The body will do anything you truly believe you can." Then he slowed down, took a deep breath, smiled kindly, and added, "Every morning, I repeat Marcus Aurelius's words. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Those words struck Laura like a lightning bolt straight to the heart. That night, with his voice still echoing in her mind, she realized the thing holding her back all this time might just be an invisible wall she had built herself. For the first time, she stopped making excuses and chose to act. The next morning, Laura woke up 20 minutes earlier. In the soft light of dawn, she opened a notebook, and wrote down what she truly desired. At first, her wishes were small, but very clear: to learn something new, to feel proud of herself, to stop fearing failure. Amazingly, Laura had never realized she had quietly nurtured such desires. You see, change often begins with a very small decision, one so subtle that almost no one notices. But the moment you choose to rise from your comfort seat, you've already set the wheel of transformation in motion. Laura's story doesn't end here. Behind the 3 short lines in her notebook lies a long journey that demanded she face fear, build discipline, and apply the 13 Stoic lessons to every breath. Did she give up when her muscles ached after the first run? Did she retreat into her shell when progress came slower than expected? Remember, our greatest opponent isn't the harsh world, but the quiet, critical voice inside us. Perhaps you've had a conversation with that inner saboteur too. The good news is, we can turn it into an ally by actively training our mindset, building strong, positive habits, and staying persistent step by step. Imagine each day as a brick laid down carefully. You don't need to build the whole building in one afternoon. You just need to commit to laying bricks consistently. Eventually, you'll look back in awe at the solid wall you've built for yourself. Ask yourself, what is holding you back the most right now? Time, circumstances, or judgmental voices? In truth, the biggest limitation is the story you tell yourself. When Laura changed that story, she unlocked her inner strength and rewrote the journey of her life. You can do the same. In the next few minutes, we will walk with Laura into the heart of the 13 Stoic lessons and discover how these thinkers trained a steel mindset to face challenges, remain calm, and turn adversity into a launchpad. But first, take a moment to pause, feel the beat of your heart, and reflect on the dream that may have been silent for too long. Are you ready to wake it up? If your answer is yes, then continue with me to page 2, where the journey takes form step by step. Strategies, methods, and inspiring stories are waiting for you to turn aspiration into action starting today. Remember the moment Laura wrote those 3 small wishes into her notebook at dawn. From that very second, the wheel of change began to turn, and her story has led us right to this page. Laura's progress unfolded slowly. Of course it did. Each morning, she pushed herself to take just one more step, no matter how small, and quietly repeated the man's words in the park. What matters is not what happens, but what we choose to do with it. Some days, she ran 1 extra lap. Other days, she only had time to sit and take a deep breath by the window. Yet she still counted that as a victory, because she didn't fall back asleep in her familiar comfort zone. Now, Laura is not a celebrity, nor is she a millionaire, but she wakes up every day with a clear goal map. That silver-haired old man and the quote from Marcus Aurelius have left a deep mark in her mind. Greatness lies in the choices you make every day. That sentence became her compass, guiding her even through storms. If you found these reflections helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe and become a special member of this channel. That way, you'll receive more exclusive content, and we can continue to accompany you on your growth journey. Now, head to the comments section and type in, What are you doing today to become the best version of yourself? Imagine a thick rope braided from hundreds or even thousands of tiny strands. Each of those strands is a day in your life. If you use that day well, the strand becomes strong and durable. But when you waste it, it turns weak and fragile. Now ask yourself, how many strands have you let snap just because you kept reassuring yourself, "I'll do it tomorrow"? The truth is, every day we are making decisions, whether we realize it or not. We are either building a solid castle or letting the sands of time slip through our fingers. Be honest now, how many times have you promised yourself, "I'll work out tomorrow, I'll start learning that language tomorrow, I'll finish that task tomorrow," and that tomorrow never came? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Marcus Aurelius once advised, when you wake up, remember that being alive today is a privilege for him. This wasn't just an empty inspirational quote, but a morning ritual. He spent a few minutes reflecting on his role, not just as the Roman emperor, but as a human being. He reminded himself to act with integrity and to make the most of every moment with fairness, compassion, and wisdom. Let's face a slightly uncomfortable truth. Not everyone will have the chance to see the next sunrise. You have that privilege. But every time you delay, you let a treasure slip away, one that will never return. This doesn't mean you need to achieve all your grand goals in a single day. It simply calls you to give today the value it deserves. So tonight, before you lay down to sleep, how do you want to feel? Proud for having placed another brick, or regretful for leaving a blank space when you wake up? Don't pressure yourself to turn the world upside down. Just ask, what specific thing can I do today to be better than yesterday? The difference lies in the small actions accumulated over time. If you want to strengthen a relationship, pick up the phone and call that person as soon as you can. Want to learn a new skill? Spend 30 minutes reading a book or watching an online lecture. The key point is to act today, because tomorrow is just a convenient cover for procrastination. I also encourage you to try one more question each morning. What energy do I want to bring into the day? This idea was proposed by Roxy Nafusi. It's not just about checking off a to-do list, but about the attitude you carry with you: gratitude, enthusiasm, or steady determination. That energy shapes your emotions, guides your actions, and determines how you end your day. The flow of time won't stop to wait for anyone. You are weaving the thread of your life right now, one strand at a time. Will it be strong enough to lift your dreams high, or will it snap the moment strong winds blow? Never underestimate the power of one day. Every morning you wake up is an opportunity to improve yourself, to grow, to get closer to the life you truly desire. But if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, sadly, that moment will never come. So tell me, how much longer do you plan to wait before you actually start building something meaningful? You may not realize it, but you are far more capable than you think. We often blame circumstances, lack of resources, or external factors. But if you look closely, the greatest obstacle is usually ourselves, not the world, not other people, but that voice in your head, the one whispering, "I can't, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough." And the sad part is, that voice stops you. even before you've had a chance to begin. But my friend, let me tell you this. Those barriers are not real. They only exist in your mind. Think about it. How many times have you stopped yourself? Not because others told you no, but because you believed you couldn't. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Circumstances do not make the man, they only reveal him to himself." It sounds simple, but it carries a profound meaning. Epictetus was born a slave. If you looked only at his situation, he had no chance at success. But he didn't let his background define him. Through training his mind, inner discipline, and persistence, he became one of the most influential thinkers in the history of philosophy. His life is powerful proof that most of the limits we carry are built by ourselves. And you are no exception. Think of Charles Chaplin, a boy raised in an orphanage, struggling with hunger every day. The world saw him as a poor, nameless child. But Chaplin didn't see himself that way. He once said, "Even as a wanderer, I always considered myself the greatest actor in the world." Sounds powerful, doesn't it? It was Chaplin's unwavering belief in his own potential that led him to become one of the greatest legends in global cinema. And this isn't just philosophy or an inspiring story. Science is on your side too. A study published in the journal Psychological Science analyzed how self-belief influences performance in difficult situations. Researchers asked a group of people to complete a variety of complex tasks, such as solving math problems and physical training. The results were clear. Those who believed they could succeed not only performed better, but also persisted longer, no matter how tough the task was. Why is that? Because when you think you cannot do something, your brain shuts down. It stops searching for solutions, stops trying. But when you believe you can, your brain responds differently. It looks for ways. It explores new paths. It fights to rise. Your mindset is the key that unlocks the door to your true potential. Imagine standing in front of an opportunity, an important presentation, a chance to apply for your dream job, or simply sending a message to someone you admire. But instead of taking the leap, you hear a voice whisper in your head, "I'm not ready. Someone else will do better." Sounds familiar? Then let me be direct. That voice is wrong. You do not need to be 100% ready. You only need to begin. Isn't it time to change that? And to help you get started, here are 2 simple things you can do today. First, make a list of things you once thought were impossible. Run a marathon, write a book, learn French, build a YouTube channel. Pick just one thing and take the first step. Buy the running shoes, open that writing guide. Find an online course. Most importantly, do something today. Because even the longest journey begins with a single step. And you don't need to do it all in one afternoon. You only need to start and keep going, bit by bit. Where are you now in your own journey? Are you ready to face the negative voice in your head and answer it with action? Keep that question close, because in the next part, we will dive into a series of practical strategies to help you gradually overcome inner barriers, build perseverance, and elevate your personal capabilities not just mentally, but through concrete actions in daily life. Second, Challenge yourself at least once a week to step outside your comfort zone. Picture yourself in front of a room full of people. You stand up to speak, heart racing, hands slightly shaking. But you do it. Or maybe it's the first time you say no to something you used to reluctantly agree to. It could even be something you fear: signing up for a class, applying for a dream, job, or simply speaking your mind. Each challenge becomes living proof that you are stronger than you thought. Trust me, you are more valuable than you believe. You know more than you give yourself credit for, and you matter more than you think. That potential is still there, waiting for you to stop limiting yourself, waiting for you to wipe away the fogged glass that's been clouding your vision. So, how much longer will you wait before you discover who you truly can become? Dad, let's learn how to build a habit that cannot fail. Do you know what the biggest mistake many people make when trying to change their lives is? They believe that willpower alone is enough. It sounds inspiring. But the truth is this: no matter how fired up you feel, that motivation won't last forever. What does last? Systems, habits, discipline. A sustainable habit is not built on a fleeting burst of inspiration, but on designing a system that works. If you rely only on willpower, sooner or later you'll burn out. But if you have a solid system, the habit becomes second nature. No more daily inner battles. Allow me to share a personal story. A few years ago, I had an injury and was advised to stretch every day to avoid long-term pain. It sounded simple, but I really struggled. I did it one day, then forgot the next. Or sometimes I just didn't feel like it. I lost motivation, got frustrated. Then I changed my approach. I stopped relying on willpower and started building a system. I placed my yoga mat right next to my bed so it would be the first thing I saw when I woke up. I picked a 3-minute song and played it every morning as a small ritual, and I made a commitment. No excuses, no negotiations. After just a few weeks, I didn't need to think about it anymore. Stretching became automatic, like brushing my teeth, like breathing. That system changed everything. The habit stopped being a burden and became a natural part of life. Scott Adams, the famous author and creator of the Dilbert comic series, once boldly said, "Goals are for losers, systems are for winners." It might sound extreme, but there's deep truth behind it. Why? Because when you focus too much on the end goal, it's easy to get discouraged if results don't show up right away. Every small failure can feel like a major setback. But if you shift your focus to building a consistent system, you'll find yourself moving forward step by step, regardless of that day's outcome. The system picks you up when you feel like giving up. So how do you build a system for yourself? Start small. Very small. Do not try to change everything at once. Let's say you want to drink more water each day. Don't immediately set the goal, drink 2 liters of water daily. That's pressure. Start simple. Drink 1 glass of water right when you wake up. Even more important, make it easy. A habit that is hard to do equals a habit that is easy to quit. Now think, what's easier? Walking to the kitchen, finding a glass, and pouring water every morning, or placing a bottle of water next to your bed the night before? The answer is obvious. isn't it? When you remove friction, the habit becomes sustainable. You don't need to think too much. You just need to act. And when that action is repeated often enough, your brain begins to attach it to your identity. I'm the person who starts the day with water. I'm the person who does yoga each morning. I'm the person who takes small steps to grow. You see, it's not the big leaps that shape your life. It's the small steps, repeated daily, under a smartly designed system. So what action will you choose today? Make a list of weekly self-challenges. Redesign your workspace to support a new habit. Set a reminder to meditate for 5 minutes. Or simply drink that first glass of water. Whatever it is, just begin. And here's the key: integrate the new habit into habits you already have. Don't try to create a standalone habit and expect to remember or sustain it through willpower alone. Instead, attach the new habit to something familiar, a technique called habit stacking. For example, if brushing your teeth is already a morning routine, use that moment as the trigger for a new habit. You brush your teeth, then you pick up the water bottle you placed there the night before. And just like that, no drama, no pressure, you've started your day with a positive action. Why does this method work? Because you no longer have to remember, no longer have to push harder, no longer have to rely on fleeting motivation. Over time, the new action becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth every morning. The philosopher Seneca said this centuries ago, persistence trumps talent. The issue is not what you can do in a single day, but what you can sustain over a long period. Imagine a habit as a flowing river. You don't need to push the water. You only need to design the right path, and it will quietly carry you day after day until it brings you to the shore of success. Trust me, building a system is not about making life more complicated. It's about making it easier and more effective. 4. Invest in yourself as a priority, not an extra option. Have you ever heard the story of the woodcutter? Every day, he went into the forest with his old axe to chop trees. At first, things went fine, but over time, the blade became dull. Cutting down one tree took hours, leaving him utterly exhausted. A passerby said to him, "You should sharpen your axe or get a new one." But the woodcutter, frustrated, replied, "I don't have time for that. I have to keep working." And so he kept pushing himself to the limit every day, until he could no longer stand. In the end, he gathered the last of his money and bought a new axe. The very next day, everything changed. Trees fell easily. He worked fewer hours, felt less tired, and he began to have time to think about the future. See the message. Too often, we are just like that woodcutter. We keep pushing ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, non-stop. Then when someone suggests, "You should rest, learn something new, take care of your health," we respond, "I don't have time. I don't have the money. Now's not the right time." But here is the simple truth. If you don't invest in yourself, you'll keep burning out, and one day, you'll have nothing left to give. Marcus Aurelius understood this early on. He once said, "Always choose to strengthen your mind and body, because everything else depends on it." And he was absolutely right. If you don't have your health, how can you work effectively? If your mind is not clear, how can you make good decisions? If you don't make time to learn, how can you improve your skills and change your life? If you're living with a dull axe, how can you dream of a brighter forest? Do you know what psychology calls this condition? It's called caregiver syndrome. It happens when you give all your energy to others' family, co-workers, friends, but forget yourself. The result is burnout. You lose inspiration. You forget your sense of purpose. And the irony is, you cannot truly care for others if you don't know how to care for yourself. So ask yourself, when you are your best self, can you give more to others when you are healthy? Can you create better when your spirit is nourished? Can you love more deeply and consistently? The answer, undoubtedly, is yes. So today, how will you invest in yourself? Spend 15 minutes reading a book. Do 10 minutes of light exercise in the morning. Enroll in a small course on a skill you need. Or simply, give yourself permission to rest. Truly and fully, whatever your way. The important thing is this: do it because you deserve it. And you don't need to wait until life collapses to finally sharpen your axe. It's like trying to pour water from an empty cup. You simply cannot. You cannot give your focus, emotions, kindness, or energy if you are drained inside. In fact, studies have shown that many people suffering from caregiver syndrome often experience intense anxiety and exhaustion. The simple reason: they've never allowed themselves to become a priority. Now, take a look at your own life. Imagine you've spent the entire week solving workplace crises, helping friends, caring for family, and constantly placing your own needs at the bottom of the list. At the end of the day, how do you feel? Maybe you feel drained, unmotivated, mentally scattered, emotionally heavy. Only a bit of energy remains, and that is exactly the problem. When you don't invest in yourself, each day becomes harder than the last. But here's the good news: investing in yourself doesn't need to be grand or luxurious. It only needs to begin with small changes that have a big impact. Try dedicating 20 minutes each day to something that nurtures you physically or mentally. A walk outdoors, reading an inspiring book, sitting quietly in meditation, writing a few lines of reflection, listening to music, and breathing deep. These moments, though they seem small, help you recharge like each sip of water refilling an empty cup. And here's something just as important: learn to say no. It sounds easy, but it's hard to do. I know. But every time you say no to something that does not serve you, you are saying yes to your own peace. Maybe it means canceling an unnecessary meeting, skipping an invitation that exhausts you, walking away from commitments that disconnect you from yourself. These rejections are not selfish. They are a sign of self-respect, your way of protecting your most valuable resources, your time and energy. Treat investing in yourself like putting money into a high-return investment. At first, you won't notice a big change. But if you commit, repeat, and stay consistent, you won't just live better, you will begin building the life you've always wanted. And that, my friend, is worth every ounce of effort you give. So now, let me ask you, what are you doing today to invest in the best version of yourself? Will you keep swinging that dull axe or start sharpening it? Share with us in the comments below. Write down one specific thing you'll do today to invest in yourself, because the first step is always the most important one. 5. Small steps, big changes. Now, imagine an elephant, massive, majestic, walking confidently across its territory. Do you think it was born walking like that? The answer is no. When it was born, its first steps were wobbly, unsure. It stumbled, then stood back up. But it never quit. Step by step, over and over, it became a creature capable of traveling for miles with strength and confidence. That is exactly how real progress happens. Not in giant leaps, but in persistent step by step. The Stoics understood this well. They never expected to have it all overnight. If they lived in our modern times, they wouldn't be chasing the latest success hack or magical shortcut. Instead, they would teach you this. Take small actions every day and let time do the rest. You've heard of James Clear, right? The author of Atomic Habits? He popularized a powerful concept. Improve just 1% each day. It sounds small, but if you do it consistently for a year, you'll be 37 times better. Not magic, just the math of perseverance. Think about this. You don't need to change the whole world today. You just need to change the small world inside you just a little. One glass of water, a 5-minute meditation, a well-timed no. One habit stacked into your daily rhythm. Each of those small steps, like the first steps of a baby elephant, will lead you to strength you never thought you had. The best part? You don't need a revolution to change your life. You just need small, intentional steps repeated over time. How many times have you wanted to start something new only to quit because you felt like you had to do it all at once? How many times have you looked at a big goal, finishing a book, changing your career, getting healthier, and felt so overwhelmed that you didn't start at all? Here's the trick. You don't need to do it all at once. Let's say you want to read more, but then you think, I don't have time to finish a whole book. That's fine. You don't need to if you read just 4 pages a day. By the end of the year, you will have read more than one. For 100 pages, the equivalent of about 5 to 6 books. 4 pages a day sounds like nothing, right? But if you repeat it daily, the cumulative effect is astonishing. And the best part is, you hardly feel like you're making an effort. Or suppose you want to save $1,000 this year. Clearly, you don't need to gather it all at once. What you need is a small, consistent commitment each week, each month, and let time do the rest. And here's another important thing. Let go. Letting go does not mean giving up. It's not about resenting anyone. It means putting yourself first. Ask yourself, what are the things you do every day that don't bring you any closer to your goals? Maybe it's mindlessly checking your phone every hour, or procrastinating on important work out of fear, or holding onto a relationship that keeps dragging you down. When you release those burdens, you make space for the people and things that truly enrich your life. Letting go of what no longer serves you is a victory of clarity, of peace, of inner strength. You don't need anyone else to feel whole. You've always been whole. And remember, you are the one who decides which burdens to carry and which to leave behind. Trust me, when you finally do that, things will start to change. 6. Let go of the fear of rejection. My friend, let me tell you a little story. There was a small bird living in a golden cage. It had everything: food, water, a safe place to rest. But every time it looked through the bars, it longed to fly free in the sky. Then one day, the cage door unexpectedly opened. And you know what it did? Nothing. It didn't move. The fear of the unknown, the fear of being rejected by the outside world kept it frozen right inside an open cage. This time, it wasn't the bars holding it back. It was fear. What about you? How many times have you avoided stepping out of your comfort zone just because you were afraid of what others might think? The fear of rejection is a silent shadow that follows us everywhere. You don't raise your hand in a meeting because you fear your question will sound silly. You don't share your ideas because you fear they'll be dismissed. You don't pursue an opportunity because you fear public failure. But here's the truth. Living in fear of rejection isn't living. It's merely surviving, and you deserve more than that. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, sitting there, anxious about how many likes his latest reflection would get on social media. Sounds ridiculous, right? Because he didn't live to please others. He lived true to his values. Marcus said, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." Not complicated, not flashy. He simply meant, do your best, love what you do, and let go of what you cannot control. In the end, what others think does not define who you are. Only you, your actions, your attitude, your effort define who you are. So today, if there's something you've been meaning to do, send that job application email, call someone, and make peace. Publish the piece you've been writing for weeks. Do it. Don't wait until you feel ready, because sometimes readiness comes after action, not before. We just talked about the fear of rejection, that invisible shadow that can trap you inside a cage of your own making. But there's something even deeper. That fear doesn't always come from outside. It weaves itself into your daily habits, subtle behaviors you don't even realize are quietly wearing you down. Psychologist Maria Esclopes said it clearly. The fear of rejection can become a silent trap. And the dangerous part is, you can fall into it without even realizing it. Do you want to know what those behaviors look like? When you always need to be around others because you can't stand the feeling of being alone. When you constantly ask your partner, "Do you love me?" as if your self-worth depends on their answer. When you stay silent in conversations, afraid to express your opinion just to avoid conflict or to fit in. Better sound familiar. You're not alone. According to Esclopes, these behaviors are signs of emotional dependency, a way of living that turns you into a prisoner of others' approval. And here's the worst part. The more dependent you are on external validation, the emptier you feel inside. Do you really want to keep living like that? I remember a friend of mine. He was always desperate for recognition. Every time he posted something on social media, he checked the comments for hours. Whenever he made plans, he needed everyone to be happy with them. Even the smallest rejection would break him, until one day, he completely burned out. He had no energy left to pretend, no willpower to keep pleasing others, and he made a decision to change. Think of life like eating a watermelon. You can't eat the whole fruit in one bite, right? You'd choke. What's the smart way? Slice by slice, bit by bit, savor it slowly, enjoy the journey. Saving money works the same way. You don't need to stash away $1,000 overnight. You can start small. Save spare change each day, round up your spending and put the difference into a jar. Use an app that automatically saves 5% every time you spend. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nothing happens suddenly. Everything is the result of small steps." And here's something just as important. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it seems. Saved €20 this month? Celebrate it. Worked out for 10 minutes a day for a week? Celebrate it. Said no for the first time this month? Celebrate that too, because every small win is a step closer to the stronger version of yourself. And the power of those small steps is in how they compound. 1% here, 1% there. Then one day, you'll look back and realize you've completely transformed. So what can you do today? You don't need to do everything. You just need to start. Because when you commit to moving forward just a little bit each day, you are building a version of yourself that doesn't just reach goals, it surpasses them. 6. Grow through discomfort. My friend, let's be honest. How many times have you avoided something just because it made you uncomfortable? How many opportunities have passed you by simply because you were afraid to leave your comfort zone? Picture a baby bird in its nest. There, it's safe. It doesn't need to do anything. Its mother brings food, warmth, protection. But then one day, the nest becomes too small. If it wants to fly, to survive, what must it do? It must jump. In that moment, it has two choices: stay in safety and remain forever limited, or face fear and learn to use its own wings. Now tell me, are you still sitting in your nest, waiting for things to change while refusing to move? Listen closely. If everything feels easy, you're not growing. Seneca once said, "Adversity is where the soul is trained." He didn't see discomfort as punishment. He saw it as a gym for the mind. You can't build muscle without stretching it. You can't build resilience without facing challenges. And you won't grow if you retreat every time something feels inconvenient. So, today, ask yourself, what are you avoiding just because it's uncomfortable? What do you know would change your life if you did it, but you keep stepping back from it? Remember, the safe nest will eventually become too small. And if you never learn how to fly, you'll never know how vast the sky truly is. Marcus Aurelius didn't just talk about his philosophy, he truly lived it. From time to time, he chose to sleep on the floor, wore simple clothing, and ate only the most basic meals, even though he had more than enough material wealth. Why? Because he understood that if his happiness depended on comfort, then the moment that comfort was lost, he would suffer. But if he trained himself to endure discomfort, then nothing could break him. I know what you're thinking. Facing discomfort, that's easier said than done. I get it. No one enjoys being uncomfortable, but some people have made it a way of life. Look at the founders of Yes Theory. Do you know their motto? seek discomfort. Their philosophy is simple yet powerful. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the more you grow. They've done things that sound crazy to most people. Traveling with no money, staying in strangers' homes, saying yes to experiences most would avoid out of fear. And they documented all of it, showing the world that the more you face the unknown, the stronger you become. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to sleep on the floor or travel broke. But I do want you to start seeing discomfort as a sign of progress. If waking up early to exercise is hard, if you avoid difficult conversations, if trying something new scares you, then that is exactly where your next version is waiting. Discomfort is not an obstacle, it is a compass pointing you in the direction you need to go. I say this from personal experience. The first time I had to speak in a company meeting, I was terrified, dry mouth, sweaty palms, trembling voice. But I didn't back down. I did it once, then again and again. Today, my manager trusts me to present to the entire team, even in front of senior leaders. What once terrified me is now something I do naturally, because discomfort disappears once you face it often enough. Now, I want you to do something. Take out a piece of paper and write down the things you usually avoid because they make you uncomfortable. Maybe it's asking for a raise, resolving a conflict, attending an event alone, or anything that makes you hesitate. Choose one of them and commit to facing it this week. You don't need to do something big, just take one small step. If you want to help the world, start by improving yourself. And this isn't just some nice philosophy, it's common sense. How can you give your best when you're exhausted, discouraged, or lost? How can you be a good leader, friend, or partner if you've neglected your own needs? You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you truly want to give, begin by strengthening yourself first. Let me tell you a story that proves personal growth is not selfish, it's maturity. A friend of mine made a tough decision. He quit his job to study a new field that could give him a better future. But when he did, people called him all kinds of names. They said he was selfish, especially since his wife took on the full financial burden for their family. But he didn't let those voices shake him. He knew this was his one chance to change his life. For 3 years, he locked himself into a PhD program, no parties, no distractions, every hour devoted to learning, researching, and preparing for the future. And now, all those voices are silent because the results speak for themselves. My friend is a PhD holder, holds a respected position, and his life has completely transformed. They bought a new home, found stability, opportunity, and peace of mind. He improved himself, and as a result, his entire family now lives the life they once dreamed of. What about you? What would you do if you were in that situation? Would you choose safety just to avoid gossip? Or would you bet on yourself, knowing that in the end, the sacrifice would be worth it? If you want to apply this to your own life, start by setting aside time each week to focus on your values and strengths. Do you want to expand your knowledge? Then commit time to reading or learning something new each week. Do you want to improve your health? Make a commitment to your physical and mental well-being. Schedule time for exercise and self-care. If you value family, work on becoming the best version of yourself for them. This is not about taking away from others. It's about strengthening yourself so you can give even more. And here's something important. Stay grounded when others doubt you. You do not need to justify every decision made in the name of personal growth. If someone says you've changed, smile and simply say, "Thank you." That is the goal. Because ultimately, the question you must reflect on is, what version of yourself are you bringing to the world? Pushing yourself to become better each day not only transforms you, it elevates the people around you. So tell me, will you keep living by others' expectations? Or will you finally become the person you truly want to be? 9. Stop comparing yourself to others. Imagine you're running on a track. You focus on steady breathing and keeping a good pace. But suddenly, you start looking to the sides. You see someone running faster. Someone else looks like they're not even tired. Instead of keeping your own rhythm, you become obsessed with them, anxious, distracted, losing pace, and worst of all, you stop moving forward. Sound familiar? That is exactly what happens when you compare yourself to others. It doesn't make you faster or better. It just pulls your attention away and slows you down. Do you know what Epictetus would say? He would say, "Don't worry about what others are doing. Focus on what you can control." And he would be absolutely right. What do you gain by wasting your energy tracking other people's progress if it doesn't actually change anything in your life? If you spend more time watching what others are doing than doing your own work, you're not just losing focus, you're losing your own growth. And here is when one of the worst enemies appears: social media. I'm sure this has happened to you. You wake up in the morning, pick up your phone without thinking, and start scrolling. You see someone traveling, another person running a successful business, someone else looking the best they've ever looked, and you, still lying in bed, feeling like you're falling behind. But do you know what's really happening? You're comparing your reality to the most polished, edited version of someone else's life. And while you do that, you're doing nothing for your own. So what can you do to break this cycle? First, set clear personal goals, and most importantly, measure your progress against who you were yesterday, not anyone else. If today you did better than last week, or made one step forward in your project, that is success. The only competitor you need to beat is yourself. Because real progress isn't about outperforming others, it's about continuously improving yourself. Second, if social media makes you feel inadequate or pressured, have the courage to step away from it, especially during the first hours of your day. This isn't just advice, it's a rule. Studies have shown that starting your day on social media can negatively affect your mood and put you in a reactive mindset, meaning you're constantly responding to external input instead of intentionally shaping your day. A perfect example comes from the 5 a.m. Club podcast, where they explain that the first thing you absorb in the morning will shape your mindset for the rest of the day. If instead of opening Instagram or Facebook, you spend a few minutes planning your day or doing something meaningful, you'll begin your morning with intention rather than getting swept up in endless comparison. I understand that's not easy, because the phone has become a habit, an almost an inseparable part of our lives. But it's not impossible to change. So how can you make it easier? First, leave your phone outside the bedroom when you go to sleep. If needed, use a traditional alarm clock instead of your smartphone. Second, when you wake up, do something that helps you grow. Read, write, exercise, or simply plan your day. The important thing is not to let the first thing you do be comparing yourself to others. Through social media. Now ask yourself honestly, how many hours have you wasted watching others progress instead of working on yourself? How many times have you let comparison drain the energy that could have been used to improve your own life? My friend, if you push yourself to become better every day, then the only comparison that truly matters is the one with your past self. Next, let's talk about quality time, something essential if you want real growth. Have you ever been with someone but not truly present? Maybe your body was there, but your mind was somewhere else, checking your phone, thinking about work, planning your next move. You thought you were spending time with that person, but in truth, you weren't. Imagine having dinner with your family. Your child is excitedly telling you about their day at school, but you're glued to your phone, nodding absent-mindedly while your eyes stay fixed on the screen. After a few minutes, they stop talking, realizing you're not really listening. And the worst part, next time, they may not share with you so eagerly. Now imagine if one day you no longer had the chance to listen. How would that feel? This doesn't only apply to your relationships with others. It applies to your relationship with yourself. How many times have you said you would focus on personal growth, but did it without true presence? You turn on a movie, but your eyes are on your phone. You go for a walk to clear your mind, but spend the whole time replying to messages. You sit down to read, but after 3 pages you realize you haven't absorbed anything because your mind was elsewhere. What matters is not how much time you spend, but how you spend it. As Seneca once said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Being physically present does not mean you are truly there. If you truly want to improve each day, you must learn how to make every moment meaningful. So today, what will you choose? Will you let time pass unconsciously, or will you learn how to focus and be fully present? When you do this, you not only raise the quality of time spent with others, but you elevate the quality of your own life. It's such a waste to spend hours with someone while your mind is elsewhere, or to spend time alone only to fill it with distractions. So how can you change this? Here's a simple but incredibly powerful tip. Plan time for the people who truly matter. Don't let routine turn your relationships into something automatic and emotionless. If you have a life partner, a close friend, or a loved one you truly value, make time to be fully present with them. And when you do, turn off all distractions. For example, if you're having a meal with your family, put your phone aside, not on the table, and keep the TV off in the background. Ask questions that go beyond the usual "how was your day?" and genuinely listen to what they share. Respond with sincere attention and care. When spending time with your partner, choose an activity where you can truly connect, rather than sitting side by side while each stares at a separate screen. With friends, don't just wait for plans to happen. Take the initiative. Call instead of texting. Meet for coffee or choose a place where you can talk without interruptions. These may seem like small things, but they create a profound difference in any relationship. Because, relationships are like plants. They won't grow just by being glanced at from a distance or given a few seconds of attention while you're doing something else. They need your care, your presence, and your commitment. If you water them with quality time, they will flourish. But if you let them quietly wither, one day you may realize they've dried up long ago. So now, tell me, what will you do with your time moving forward? Will you continue letting it slip into distractions? Or will you begin giving it the quality it truly deserves? Believe me, when you push yourself to improve a little more each day, you don't just transform your own life, you also transform the lives of those around you. 11. Your body is the foundation for everything. I'm sure you've experienced this before. You try to focus, but your mind feels foggy. You want to act with energy, but your body feels heavy and sluggish. You try to motivate yourself to be productive, but everything turns into a tiring battle. And then you realize your body is not responding the way you need, and that changes everything. No matter how much you train your mind, how many goals you set, or how hard you try, if your body isn't supporting you, everything becomes much more difficult. Let me tell you the story of my neighbor. For years, her life gradually deteriorated. She could barely do anything on her own. Going to the supermarket became an exhausting challenge. Even the smallest movements left her completely drained. Over time, she began withdrawing, no longer going outside, no longer laughing. Her world shrank to the size of 4 walls. The worst part? It seemed like she had accepted that as her fate. But her daughter didn't accept it. One day, she decided to do something for her mother. She began encouraging her to move just a little. At first, it was slow, difficult, and unmotivated. They went outside together for 10 minutes a day, took short walks, and gradually added stretching exercises and simple home workouts. This story shows that taking care of the body isn't a side task, it is the foundation of complete development. If you want to have energy, focus, and the spirit to live better, start taking care of your body today. What surprised everyone most was how the body responded positively to such small efforts. But you know what was even more incredible? The change in her mindset. She was no longer the withdrawn, timid woman she once was. Now she walks, chats with neighbors, is full of energy, and laughs more. Taking care of her body didn't just give her back physical mobility, it gave her life back. So I want to ask you, will you wait until it is too late to start? Or will you take action from today? Begin by walking at least 30 minutes a day. But don't see it as a boring chore. Make it your own moment. Some days, you might walk while listening to your favorite music, letting the rhythm carry you forward. Other days, leave your headphones behind and simply listen to the sounds of nature and the city, enjoying the simple joy of being fully present here and now. It's not just walking, it's awakening your body and clearing your mind at the same time. Here is another important tip you should not overlook. Get enough sleep. No matter how productive you are during the day, if you don't rest properly, everything will fall apart. To build a good sleep routine, try this. 1 hour before bed. Turn off all screens, dim the lights, and create a calm atmosphere. You can read a few pages or write down some thoughts about your day. Do whatever helps you disconnect from the outside world so your body and mind can relax. Sleep is as important as exercise. Seneca understood this very well. We must train our bodies so they can serve our minds, because most of the time, the person who listens carefully is the one who knows best whom to trust. Here is a truth you need to remember. Not everything you experience needs to be told, and not every feeling you have needs to be explained. Sometimes, silence is not hiding but self-respect. It is choosing not to share your story with those who do not appreciate it. So, what should you do? First, listen. When you meet someone, pay attention to how they handle other people's stories. If they often speak badly of others to you, chances are they will do the same about you to others. That is the first warning sign you should be wary of. Second, test the waters before sharing big things. Start with something small and see how they receive it. Do they respect your confidence and keep it private, or do they use it against you? Most importantly, stop sharing impulsively. Ask yourself, am I sharing because I trust this person, or just because I need to vent? If it is the latter, it's better to write it down. Take a deep breath and wait. Not everything needs to be said. Trust the right people, but trust like bamboo, silently building strength inside. Only when you are truly sure do you let it grow outward. Not everyone deserves your trust, but you deserve to be surrounded by those who cherish it. Now, we are not just talking advice anymore, but stepping into a greater challenge. These final lessons will awaken something deep inside you. Be ready, because what comes next is not for everyone. There are battles that can only be won in silence. Not everything needs to be shared. There are moments in life when the wisest thing you can do is keep quiet, not out of fear or weakness, but because it is a strategy, a form of self-respect. Some decisions lose their power when revealed too soon. Some processes need protection, not explanation. Some battles can only be won unseen. Do you know why? Because some transformations lose strength if interrupted by explanations. When you share everything, you open the door for others to question you, and if what you are doing is still fragile, it begins to shake. So keep the important things carefully guarded. Sometimes silence is the greatest power you can use to protect yourself and your journey of growth. Imagine you are leaving a place that no longer fits you. Maybe it's a drained relationship, an unsuitable job, or even an old version of yourself. You are clear, you are ready, but as soon as you take the first step and tell people about your decision, the immediate reaction is, "Are you sure? That sounds risky. I would not do that." Suddenly, what was once clear inside you becomes doubtful. Motivation turns into hesitation. Because that is true, the noise outside can drown out the voice within you. Look to nature to understand this better. The eagle does not announce when it will fly. It builds its nest at the highest point, in absolute silence. And when it flies, it simply flies, no audience, no warning. That is how we should act, silently, steadily, without exposing what is still forming. If it helps you, I want to share something personal. There was a time in my life when I felt the need for a deep change. I did not fully understand everything, but something inside was calling me. It was not a fleeting emotion, but a certainty deep in my core. Have you ever felt that way? I decided to follow that feeling. But before acting, I shared my plan, perhaps eagerly seeking validation. Instead of support, I received fear, doubts. What if it doesn't work? What if you regret it? Isn't that a bit too much? Just that was enough to infect me with fear like a virus. Has that ever happened to you? You were certain until you heard too many opinions. And suddenly you no longer knew if the guiding voice was yours or someone else's. That was the day I learned an important lesson. There are battles that can only be won in silence. Some decisions are not for discussion, but for action. Not every feeling needs to be spoken aloud. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is protect your path from the outside noise. The Stoics understood this very well. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote to himself he was not trying to convince anyone else. Honestly, can you imagine what Epictetus would have achieved without discipline? Do you think he would say, "Today I do not really feel like training my mind"? Maybe tomorrow I will be inspired by Stoicism. Or would he say, "I will practice emotional mastery, but only when I feel like it"? That is impossible. If he became one of the most influential philosophers in history, it is because he understood that it is what you do every day that truly defines who you are. So how do you become more disciplined? First, make a list of your priorities and set daily habits to carry them out. Do not try to do everything at once. Set specific times in your day for what really matters, for what you want to improve. Whether it is learning something new, exercising, or developing a project, the issue is not how much you get done, but that you do it every day. As Andrew Huberman explains, self-discipline is not willpower but training. The key is not to wait until you feel motivated, but to train your mind to do what needs to be done without negotiation. It does not matter if you are in the mood or not, or how complicated your day gets. What matters is that you keep your commitment. This is the clearest sign of self-respect. If you do not fully believe in yourself yet, find a trustworthy friend to share that commitment with. That person will help you stay accountable, not to pressure you, but to remind you of the promise you made to yourself. When maintaining discipline becomes difficult, do not hesitate to lean on those who believe in you to keep you on track. My friend, discipline is not punishment or burden, but a gift you give yourself to build the life you truly desire. So now, I want to ask you, will you keep waiting for motivation to appear like a miracle? Or will you finally stand up and do what is necessary to go where you want to be? Accepting discipline and continuous growth is the key to transforming your life. Every day is an opportunity to push yourself, take action, and build the best version of yourself. The issue is not waiting for the perfect moment, but making the most of every moment you have. True transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through every choice you make, every effort you repeat, every step you decide to move forward. If you followed along this far, leave a comment saying, "I choose to grow every day so I know who the true Stoic warriors are, those who walk this journey to the end." Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and like the video so you don't miss upcoming content. Also, I invite you to check out the playlist appearing on your screen. It is full of ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click on it and let's move forward together. See you in the next videos. Take care of yourself and keep living with the Stoic spirit inside you.